want
Right.
to understand, what was your mindset when you walked into the building, first day as a head coach? How are you going to change this program for the better?
So my first year at Enloe, I was an assistant with David Green. And what I seen was potential. So I come from East Hills in Pittsburgh. It's called the East Hills Project. So I'm a project kid, right? But I went to a private school. And a lot of times I always wanted people to see that I was more than just the environment that I was in or that I come from. And so when I look at the youth, I don't look at them just as, whatever they're projecting. I try to see past that to understand who they are as a person, where they come from, because a lot of the times it's a mask. And I know for me, I would wear a mask every day because I had to put a mask on and be super tough at school. Then at home, because I lived in the hood, like the hood, I lived in gang neighborhood. Then I would have to put on a different mask because I went to a private school where there was only 40 African American in my freshman class. So you had to be able to balance that, right? So then now let's fast forward these traits into me looking at you guys. So I see the potential in you all by building the relationship and understanding where you're coming from, home situation, and you start to see some of the goals and things that are inside that maybe you don't even know yet, right? So I seen the potential. When I seen you and Christian and Chris O'Neill and, Satterwhite and Joshua Satterwhite, these guys, you see the potential of what people can be. Well, the one thing that I always wanted as a coach was for somebody to, or when I look back, what I knew I needed as a player from my coach was for somebody to see the vision for me that I couldn't see for myself yet. And so a lot of times people just seen that I was a great football player, so they treated me just as that, just as a football player. So my mindset as a coach to you guys was to be more than just a football player. Define yourself more so off the field, because football is fun. And I used to say all the time, football is what we do. That's the easy part. But how do we go into classrooms, and how do we speak to people, and how do we treat our community, and how do we do, so those start to mold you, so that now you get a different definition of who your character is, even though you may come from adverse situations. And once you start getting that confidence, it plays out on the field. So when you feel like you're the man off the field, well, guess what? You got to be the man on the field too. So that was kind of my mindset, was to get you guys to be confident off the field by doing your work, going to class, and letting the teacher see that you guys can be more than what your environment was. And then now, once you've seen that, the football part handled itself.
I think that answered that question greatly. And, I'm a product of that, seeing where it was, and then see, how that changed. Like even the mindset of the players, I was in that locker room and I heard the conversations. And you could see, from my freshman, sophomore year, how it just changed over the course of my years there. Just the mindset of, what we transferred from, off the field, in the school building, and then how that translated on the field in our play. We had to change how we acted in the classroom. We had to change, our persona and how that was when we're outside of the field, because, like I said, this series is called Athlete in Me. That's, I want to highlight the athlete is in you. That is just a part of me, right? It's just a part of you. It's not who you are. It's not everything that you are. It's just a part of you. And you got to figure out, what are some other things that's a part of me? What are some other things that make up my me? And I think that's really great that you put an emphasis, especially on kids that we're around 17, 18, 16. Mentally, you played the psychological battle with us
all the time.
Yeah, and it worked every single time, and I'm still surprised. And that's I look back at it, of all of the stuff that you did and you told us. At the time, sometimes we didn't realize the purpose of it or how you were saying it. But if we look back, you just think like, wow, like it makes sense now, or it just made me flip. It made me flip a switch, and you just knew how to press those buttons to a certain extent. You know how to, touch us or talk to us in a certain way to make us get the best out of us. And I think that's what really, changed us and changed the culture there. While we were there, was the ability to have someone in that cared more about us, not only on the field but off the field.
Well, one of the things that, even in my final days at Enloe, they didn't have an understanding of, the chant that we said when we ended. You say, I'm a thug, but I say I'm a soldier. And, one of the reasons why I didn't mind you guys saying that was because it's the truth. When we walked those halls, there was a certain persona that was given just because you showed up and you got certain clothes on, or you wear your clothes a certain way. And, and it's unfortunate that at times our young people don't get the opportunity to be young or make mistakes or do things wrong, because we are treated as though we are adults, or you guys are treated as though you're adults right out the door. So, for example, when Joshua Satterwhite got handcuffs put on him at the county fair, the guy thought he was over 18 until he checked his ID and seen that he was only a 16-year-old kid. That's why I always took the stance with you guys that you can't play as much as everybody else, because it could be life or death. You know what I mean? So there's a time for play, but then there's also a time for work. And when we get amongst these walls, and when we go into our classroom or we sit down and do something professionally, it's time to go to work, because now you carry a different persona to that person that's across the table. And it's easier to ask people for help. It makes you marketable in the workplace. You're able to converse with anybody and sit down and have a conversation with somebody. You're able to put on a shirt and tie like you got on right now. Even if you notice, rarely did y'all ever see me without my top button. Like the first thing we did when we sat down to get ready to do this interview, what did I do? Button my top button. So it's just, there's certain things that I wanted you guys to be, because my line, and you can probably say it, football ends for everybody. So when it does, what can you do with yourself once football ends? And so my goal was always, football's fun, but what can I help you guys accomplish outside of football?
And that was my biggest thing for me personally. I was going to make sure I maximize, the coaches that I had there. A lot of times, players we take for granted, great coaches that we had, or great mentors that we have in our life, and we don't realize some of the gems that you gave us. I was going to make sure I took out everything that you told us, everything you wrote on the board, everything you yelled at us in the weight room, all those different things. I was going to try to take it with me. So when football did end for me, and I decided not to play in college, so when things did end for me, I was able to apply those to my life, and then be able to do things like make my own business or do different things that I want to do, or I feel like I could contribute to society.
Yeah, so, It makes me feel good to see this, because for people who are watching, it felt good to see you take a conversation that we may have had for 35 minutes. The next thing you know, you're running your own podcast, got your own logo and everything. So, I appreciate you taking the information and actually applying it. And all you guys did, to be honest. I mean, you see Hamilton successful, Christian successful, Jaden successful, like Swain is successful. Like, so there was some that it just gravitated and caught on, and you guys now are living. And it takes longer for others, you know what I mean? But, I think the one biggest thing that as a coach, even if you said, back to your original question, what did I see? I seen that if we can make football family, that it would take us into a totally different realm, even on the field. So that's why we had the coaches that we had. So there was a coaching personality for each type of kid. So like Coach Kennedy, loud, crazy, like to have fun, still young with the swag, blah, blah, blah. Coach Block, more serious, handle your business. You know what I'm saying? Even though, I don't get too hype, not too high, not too low. Coach Brown, straight business, suit and tie, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 type of guy, everything in line. Coach Landisman, very sociable, very personable. Everybody loves Coach Landisman, laughing, joking, but yet still able to put things in order. Coach Lou. Coach Lou was like everybody's uncle. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody wanted, you hug your uncle, dap him up. You have a good conversation. Y'all have some laughs. Then you had Coach Carlos, who was like a mentor to all of us because he was always about his business and always making sure everything was on point. So, and then you had Coach Knight, Coach Knight was younger, so he could vibe with y'all on the younger tip. You know what I'm saying? So this was all calculated so that nobody on the team. And then when we had Coach Keisha, that was for the ladies that we had on the team, so that nobody felt left out. You know what I mean? Everybody could find somebody they could gravitate to and have a conversation with, because we wanted to make football and make the locker room and all that stuff. We wanted to make it a second home.
That's definitely, that definitely, helps you when you're on the field too. Like when you really feel like that's your brother or someone that you are always gonna protect and you have love for, you'll definitely go harder for him. You'll definitely hold that block longer for him. Things like that. So I think that's really, really important, And like I said, at the time, I can guarantee the players, we probably didn't even think about all the mind stuff you were doing and thinking about.
Man, y'all hated me. Yeah, when y'all started running, y'all hated me, man.
Man, the 110s. He said, get on the line. We got gassers. We got 110s. Can't stand Coach Block. We can't stand Coach Block.
So there was a theory behind that. All right, so here's the theory behind that. I felt as though if we would practice tired, when you got to the game, you would never feel what tired was. You get what I'm saying? So then by the time you get tired, you're so familiar with that space that it doesn't make a difference. So yeah, we're gonna start practice. We're gonna run 110s until Mooney tell me we gotta go get water. Because then now you start practice, when we get in the game, how many times did we win the game in the fourth quarter because everybody was still ready to rock and roll?
I would say majority of our wins came, fourth quarter or second half, half making adjustments, and we're just not tired. The other team just gets tired quicker. And that's the thing. We didn't even think about it. We just think, oh man, this is a guy that just comes into the program, just wants us to run all day, or wants us to do basketball all day. And we weren't thinking about that. We weren't thinking, the big picture and understanding he's preparing you because, during the game, you're going to be able to outlast your opponent. They don't practice for 4 quarters in high school.
Right.
Barely do. They might do two days of hitting, and maybe they probably do walkthrough Wednesday and Thursday, and it's real chill. We do, real practice of Monday through Wednesday, maybe do walkthroughs even tough. I'm talking about all the viewers. Coach Block will make walkthrough even tough. He'll make it a grind. Like if you're not sweating from walkthroughs, then you're not working.
I need to see you. You gotta have a little sweat on you. If you ain't got no sweat on you, you ain't working.
Well, yeah. Even before games, pre-game, when y'all didn't see us out there on the main field, it's because we were on the practice field and we were grinding. We were grinding out there, before practice. When we do, DVs had DV dailies. Coach Kenny would get the D line out there early. Man, it was. I have stories after stories of just the mental grind and the mental stamina that you built in us. And like I said, we didn't understand.
The reason where I got that from was, man, some of the great boxers, and also one of them being Muhammad Ali, is one of the guys that I studied. Muhammad Ali said, "You never come into the ring dry." So you shadow box in the back room before you come out. You get you at least about 2 to 3 rounds of just shadow boxing. That's why most of your boxers have a lather to them. So your body's already warmed up. So by the time you get to the game, you don't have to work yourself into the game. You coming out ready to go. So if we come to the stadium and we got that lather and we got that sweat and that mindset has already started, we're ready to go right now. And so, as you said, man, if I say about 90% of what we did was mental. The other 10 was physical, but 90% was mental and tricking you guys into believing in yourself by using other things that we had around us.
Yeah. And like I said, it was just grind. And like I said, I see a lot of it was work. Anybody that I want to play and I'm playing in high school, I want to be better. It's just work. It's not that complicated. It's not a whole bunch of extra stuff that you have to do and buy. man, it's a grind and it's just working. And that's what it was. He changed the mentality because, when he told us, oh, get on the line, it was time to get on the line. Or when we had inside run, it was time to compete.